started with 32 players in the Premier League, and now we're down to 2. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to get started with our final Revival versus Hero, a best of 7 for the ages. I'm Axel Tosh, joined by Axlav. You feeling good?
I'm feeling great. We've seen some amazing games from Hero. Revival, if you're just watching, some very aggressive games against Alive. Took them out 3-1, and I think that surprised some people.
It is funny. We keep talking about this. This is literally going to be Revival's first ZVP of the tournament. I'm not kidding. We had a round of 32 group stage. We had a round of 16 group stage. All Zerg versus Zerg for Revival. His first Terran opponent was Alive that last match, and now he's going to play Hero in the final, his first ZVP. So those of you who are terrible at ZVP and you want to make a tournament final, don't worry. You can do it. You can make it happen. The bracket has to be on your side. Of course, here is your bracket of what has happened so far this weekend. Hero versus Alicia. Hero taking the victory there. Ryung taking out Moonglade. Alive taking out Crank. Revival over Snoot. And, of course, Hero with the 3-2. Very close victory there over Ryung and Revival. A very convincing 3-1 there over Alive, which sets us up for a dramatic final. It's going to be Revival versus Hero. Evil Geniuses versus Team Liquid. And for WCS America, honestly, I'm not sure if I would have it any other way.
It's going to be an absolutely insane matchup. These teams have almost been rivals since the foundation of when SC2 first came to MLG back in 2010. Late 2010, I believe it was. You know, when it was like Huck and Idra, and then Huck eventually went up to EG, and so many insanely hyped up matches between the two teams over the years. It's coming down to WCS America Finals between Hero and Revival.
You know, I think Revival, he came through the qualifier for WCS Premier League. And didn't he barely get through? I think he beat the Muslim to get in. So imagine that path that he had to take, again, getting through the qualifier for the Premier League. And now he's walking home with at least $12,000. Again, the winner gets $20,000 of the WCS America Final, and of course 1,500 points towards, again, those WCS points that of course add up and help you further as WCS continues into Season 2 and Season 3. By the way, guys, Season 2 is coming up. Make sure you tune into that, of course. We still got Challenger League action going on as well from Season 1, so lots of awesome games still coming your way. But of course, the final between Hero and Revival, it should be a good one. Nick, we were talking a little bit about it, and you were like, all right, I think Hero's got this.
I have to go with Hero, man. Hero's like so convincing throughout this entire tournament. My original pick was Ryung because I've always admired him so much, and Hero took him out. So now I've got to go with the guy who took out Ryung, right?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, Hero has
logic.
He didn't lose. Literally, Hero didn't lose any games until, again, losing one game to Alicia. So Hero's showing dominant play in WCS America and in Pro League. Both these guys practicing in the same house. So it should be interesting how they kind of relate to each other as far as how many practice games they've played. But we're going to be able to talk with them a little bit. I think Ben is standing by with an interview with our 2 finalists of WCS America.
Thanks a lot, guys. I am here with Revival, Hero, and Juani, of course. Revival, this is your first big offline final. I gotta know, what are you planning to do with all this prize money when you get back to Korea?
김동현 선수 첫 생애 이제 결승전인데 오프라인 대회에서 일단 우승은 아직 확정은 못 쳤지만 준우승을 하든 우승을 하든 그 상금을 받으면 어디다 쓸 건지.
아무래도 저희 부모님을 제일 먼저 생각할 것 같아요. 네.
Think about my parents first.
What about all your girlfriends? I'm sure you've got a lot of fangirls waiting for you back home.
여자친구라든지 아니면은 여자 팬들이 굉장히 많을 텐데 그쪽에다가는 돈 쓸 생각 없으신지 여자친구 만나는데.
제가 여자친구는 없어요. 네, 없는데 만날 생각도 안 하고 있고요. 오로지 게임만 열심히 할 생각입니다.
I'm not looking for the girls, and I do not have a girlfriend. The only thing I'm gonna focus on is games.
You hear that, ladies? He's available. Revival, Hero has played in many finals. He's been in this situation before, but this is kind of your first. Are you nervous at all?
송인덕 선수는 결승전을 굉장히 경험을 많이 해본 선수예요. 근데 김동현 선수는 처음이잖아요. 그래서 그런지 김동현 선수가 좀 긴장될 것 같은데 지금 어떠세요?
지금은 4강전 치르면서 긴장이 많이 덜 하는 것 같고요. 충분히 최선을 다해 경기할 수 있을 것 같습니다.
After winning game against Alive, all the worries and all the nerves just got away. It's gotten better, so I'll do my best to win.
All right, well, that's good news. Revival, do you have any final words for Hero before I go talk to him?
송인도 선수한테 한마디.
현덕이 형, 네, 재밌는 경기 했으면 좋겠어요.
Hero, we should have fun with you.
All right. Well, thank you, Revival. Good luck to Revival. Now I'm going to talk to Hero. Over here on my right. Hero, you have played in many finals in the past, but you've always been an emotional player. How are your nerves right now?
성인 선수 결승전을 많이 겪어봤고 경험도 많이 해봤는데 굉장히 이제 감성적인 선수로 유명한데 지금 어때요? 기분이?
평소에 좀 승부욕이 강해서 지면은 되게 화나고 약간 우울해하고 약간 그런 게 있는데 이번 결승전은 그래도 같이 팀에서 그 숙소에서 생활을 같이 하고 제가 좋아하는 동생이기 때문에 지더라도 기분 좋게 누가 이기든 그냥 서로 기분 좋게 마치 기분 좋은 그런 경기가 될 것 같아요.
Yes, I am very emotional player. Whenever I lose, I get very mad, upset. But since the Revival lives in the same house with me in the EGTL house, I think it's gonna be fun. And even though I lose or win, I just hope we're gonna have a good time on playing the final.
A lot of people are very curious about your relationship with Revival and how familiar you are with his play style. Are you confident going into this match? Do you feel like you usually win versus Revival, or do you feel like Revival usually wins against you?
김동현 선수랑 뭐 어느 정도 친한지랑 또 그리고 김동현 선수가 어떤 스타일로 게임을 하는지 그리고 주로 연습할 때 승률이 대충 어느 정도 나오는지.
동현이랑은 아주 친한 사이고요. 표현을 어떻게 될지 모르겠는데 그냥 약간 친동생 같은 약간 그런 제가 그렇게 생각하는 동생이고 연습 때는 그냥 비슷비슷한데 제가 좀 더 많이 이기는 것 같아요. 연습 때는.
Yeah, I treat my Revival like my own brother, my younger brother. So I'm very friendly with him, and we've been together a lot. And during the practice side, most of the time it's even, but I think I won a little more than him.
My final question for you, Hero. The Evil Geniuses versus Team Liquid rivalry is very famous outside of Korea and maybe inside of Korea as well. Do you feel like Team Liquid is the superior team? Or is it more even than that?
이지랑 팀 리퀴드가 약간 라이벌 관계인 건 아시죠? 북미에서는. 근데 지금 뭐 팀 리퀴드가 더 잘한다고 생각하세요? 이지보다?
그 라이벌이긴 한데 좀 이렇게 프로리그도 같은 EGTL로 이렇게 연합으로 나가고 있고 그래서 약간 선의의 라이벌이라고 생각하고 그리고 누가 더 잘한다고는 이렇게 섣불리 말은 잘 못하겠고요. 그냥 두 팀 다 되게 색깔 있고 잘 좋은 팀인 것 같아요.
Yeah, I know that the Evil Genius and Team Liquid is a very rival team in North America now, but we play together as a partner in a pro league. So I feel like it's a rival, but very good in good ways. So I can't really say which one is better, but I know that both teams are very colorful and very good players and very skilled. So I like both teams.
Thank you very much, Hero. Good luck. Thank you very much, Revival. Good luck to you. I'm going to kick it back to Axel Toss and Axelav at the main desk for our grand final.
Thanks a lot, Ben. Great job as always. Wow, what a stage that has been set. Hero versus Revival. Evil Geniuses versus Team Liquid. I don't know if I'd have it any other way. Both these players have been so dominant, playing so well. You know, arguably Hero more so. But again, I feel like either player could really take it.
There's so much talent here in this matchup. Hero, just like you said, going unbeaten.
Yeah.
Only dropping a single map. Unbeaten through round 13, round 16. A single map loss to Alicia and 2 map losses to Ryung. Revival, kind of one of those guys who in every one part of the group stage, he would lose the first series.
I know,
and
right?
He'd be like, okay, it's okay. That was just warm up. And then you go ahead and you win. And as well, I mean,
like I'm correct. It's round 32 and round 16. He was in the loser, like the final match of those.
He was.
Yeah.
Yeah. He both of them. He lost the first match to.
Yeah.
Ghost User, and then also to Suppy.
Suppy, yep.
Yeah, so, but that's all ZVZ, and then he looked like he had totally figured out ZVZ up against Snoot in round of 8. Round of 4,
yeah,
winning against his teammate Alive there, yeah.
But we have no idea what to expect from this guy in ZVP, literally. I mean, we have some data as far as Hero is concerned in his PvZ play, of course. I'm pretty sure everyone's going to remember that match on Belshir Vestige where Hero was, again, just the ridiculous positional play, taking out Scarlet, and of course, the Swarm hosts unable to work out for Scarlet. In a time when everyone's like, what the heck do we do against the Swarm host, Hero's just like, okay, I'll just waltz into my opponent's base and recall out. We know what Hero is capable of. Revival, not so much.
One of the most creative uses of recall I've seen in quite a long time. If you missed it, the match against Scarlet on Belshir Vestige, an amazing match. Of course, that was in the that's the first match, not the winners match. The first match in the round of 16 between Hero and Scarlet. Of course, in the same group was Revival and Suppy, and Revival did make it out of that group. So both players in the same group at the round of 16. A lot of people were saying going different groups, the group of death, the one with Ryung and Paul, etc. But actually, if you think about it, 2 players from the same round of 16 group are now in the finals.
Happens. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. Hero again, great run so far, and I feel like Revival might be the underdog, but this is definitely going to be a great final. Of course, I'm really concerned about, or I'm a little bit interested in, is if Revival can take a game early. Like, if Revival can take this first game, I'm almost inclined to give him the favor, because, Hero was expressing his concerns about, when he falls behind or when he loses a game. He's a very emotional player, as Ben was talking about in the interview. So I feel like if Revival can somehow get under Hero's skin somehow and really bring that mental momentum, I guess, into his side of the ring, then I think it could be a really good final for him, possibly.
That's very true. We've been talking about how Hero's strength is that he just doesn't seem to lose. But Revival's strength is maybe even if he loses that first map, we've seen it. Like in round 13, round 16, he even lose the first series. And he would just always find a way to come back and make it through to the next stage of the tournament. Can Hero do the same thing if Revival all of a sudden goes up 1-0 or 2-0 or even 3-0? Of course, this is a best of 7.
Yes.
So each player would have to win 4 maps to take this one.
Something else that's fairly interesting is Hero had a little bit of a break in between his semifinal match and the final, whereas Revival is coming off of obviously a 3-1 victory over Alive, but do you think that comes into play at all as far as, okay, he didn't necessarily have as long of a break as Hero did, or could he be the type of player that's like, you know what, just get me in front of a computer, I'll play for 8 hours straight, it's not even an issue?
Well, I'm sure both these players have played for 8 hours straight before over in Korea.
Absolutely.
It is an interesting point because the disadvantage is, like you mentioned, he just played a bunch of games, and these games you're playing at a much higher intensity level. Your emotions are much more highly strung than you would in a practice game. So it can be draining on you. Revival may encounter that if the series goes long. On the other hand, he just played. He's warmed up. His mind's in a StarCraft zone. Hero was just watching the game, so he might not be as quite mentally active or focused for the very first map.
And again, it's so important, the mental aspect of these games, where your mindset is, what you're personally thinking, right? Once you start having those negative thoughts, it's not going to be fun at all. Of course, there's people at home who can kind of relate to that when you get on tilt and the ladder or something like that. The mind, again, is a huge part of StarCraft 2. You're exercising it so much during the actual game. It can be a very stressful situation indeed. So everything comes into play here, and there's no reason to count either of these guys out of this final best of 7 of WCS America. Again, we've come such a long way, starting with 32 players in the Premier League, whittling it down to 16, all 16 players coming in studio to play. And now, of course, the round of 8 weekend, these guys taking out their opponents and meeting in the final. Players in the lobby, I'm going to ask if they're ready.
Let's see, Hero's looking very, very focused right now. So any nerves he had are clearly not there at the moment, or at least he's able to think his way through them. The game is starting.
Here we go, guys. The final of WCS America, a best of 7 to determine who's going to take home $20,000 and 1,500 WCS points begins right now. The map of Game 1 is going to be Cloud Kingdom. Remember, hashtag WCS on Twitter. Get on Team Liquid. Get on Reddit. Talk about these matches, because this could be very epic indeed. And here we are in the bottom left-hand location. I present your red Protoss player who didn't drop a single game until the round of 8 has been looking absolutely dominant, not only in WCS America, but over in Pro League as well. Representing Team Liquid, he is Hero. Plenty of championships around the world. Has plenty of experience in a situation such as this. His opponent in the top right-hand location. A lot of people consider him the underdog, perhaps trying to come up with an upset here. Not as much tournament experience worldwide. Here's your Blue Zerg player representing Team Evil Geniuses. He is Revival.
You know what's interesting is Revival is a player who's always been such a dominant player in, for example, playing daily events where he's won so many and online events. But this is actually the first Premier Event Finals he's ever been in. He's never made the Final 2 ever in a Premier Event. Hero's been there a couple times. Revival said he wasn't nervous at all. He got that out of his system against Alive. So that's good to hear because the first time at a Finals can be a very tough experience.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I can't imagine being such a position. I never hope to be as good as that. I mean, just the amount of work these guys put into it to get to this point is amazing, and it's a huge deal to be able to just close your mind and be like, look, I got to the final. I'm here. I'm not worried at all. But then, what if Hero does something early that kind of throws them off? So, there's so many different aspects we can talk about. We're seeing Revival already being not really thrown off that much, but this is a little thing, right? Not taking that natural expansion, instead going straight to the third, taking a hatchery there.
This is something that it was great for him to know that his opponent is Forge expanding. If your opponent Gateway expands, you typically don't want to take your third as your natural, just because you're a little more vulnerable to things like early soccer pressure, early Mothership Core pressure, and these type of things you want to have your bases closer together from the start. But knowing his opponent is fast expanding, Revival says, you know what, I want 3 bases anyway. It doesn't make that big a difference if I take the third as my natural, then later take my natural as my third.
Cloud Kingdom is a pretty unique map. Of course, one of those maps we've kind of had from the beginning. Very popular map in Wings of Liberty and becoming equally as popular in Heart of the Swarm. So both these players are going to be relatively familiar with how this map works. Of course, some important features, lots of different attack paths that can be utilized, lots of little spots where as a Protoss player you can hide pylons, try to sneak in some Zealot attacks a little bit later on in the game. You got 3 bases that are on top of a bit of a ledge where your opponent has to go up a ramp to engage your third base. They have to come through, the very bottom of the map and go through a narrow pathway. A lot of ramps throughout the middle of the map as well, so positioning is very important. This is a map that can play out in so many different ways.
A lot of options here from both players. Revival catching that probe earlier on from Hero, so he's going to have to breathe a little bit easier, knowing that he's kept track of that first scouting probe.
Wait, did he kill it?
He's chased it back.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it quite has been taken out yet.
I wonder what the first unit that's going to die in the WCS America final.
My bet would be on a Zergling.
A Zergling?
Or an Overlord.
That's a fair bet.
It could be more likely a Zergling.
I think it's going to be a probe.
Think it's going to be probe?
I'm going to put my dignity and pride on the line and say a probe's going to die first in WCS America. Make your bets now, #WCS. By the way, we're getting out a box. Of course, a very special box, Heart of the Swarm Collector's Edition, signed by all the players and casters. Tweet #WCS. You have a chance to win that, by the way.
Warp Gate is now started by Hero. Chrono boosting the probe, so it doesn't look to be like really wanting to commit to a super early gateway aggression. Immediately throwing down a robotics facility. This could lead to a couple different plays. One of the most notorious plays based off an early robotics facility is very fast Immortal Sentry timing. It could be a Zealot. The Zealot's heading out across the map.
He is, and I'm feeling a little bit silly now because I'm gonna lose this bet we made, and I feel that either a Zergling or a Zealot is gonna die here.
Revival didn't micro that hurt Zergling
Revival micro your Ling, man. I think I would have lost anyway.
It's
okay.
He's lost 3 Zerglings. The Zealot's gonna take out 4. A 4 falling. A nice little efficient move by Hero there, tucking that Zealot behind a watchtower.
Same resources.
Heads up play.
Right, 100 minerals for a Zealot, 100 minerals for 4 Zerglings. But, again, the important thing is what's coming here from Hero. He's got an Immortal and he's chrono boosting it.
This does look to be a 2-base Immortal time, and he wants to start things off by really pressuring Revival. Revival, he's identified some things in the base, but I don't think he knows exactly what's coming at him yet. Of course, he is going for the lair very quickly, which is the ideal response to this type of timing. The Zergling speed, you don't need to get super early because the Protoss won't move out until they have a couple of Immortals and a bunch of Sentries. Key things that are very important: if you want to try to defend with Roaches, you want to have Roach speed out. If you want to try to get out Mutalisk into a base race, you have to have that Spire out. If you want to use Swarmos or whatever, you need that Infestation Pit. Either way, you're going to want that lair tech, regardless of your attempt to defend this 2-base Immortal time.
Now, Revival not sending any Overlords forward into his opponent's main base to scout what his opponent is doing. So I'm a little bit curious as to what exactly he's looking for to make sure that he's ready for his push. Of course, one of the obvious things is your opponent's probe count, but his Overlord is positioned in such a way where he can't necessarily see that. So I'm wondering what Revival's next step is. I mean, he kind of has to identify this is coming.
He definitely wants to identify the third Immortal is halfway done. The +1 weapons upgrade to Forge just started now. That might be a few seconds later, though. It should be finished by the time he actually wants to engage the Zerg army. We see Roach speed coming out immediately for Revival once the lair finishes. Speedlings and Roaches in production. One of the best ways to deal with the Immortal push is if you can get enough Speedlings and Roaches in front of their base, force them to wait for some more Warpins before moving out with just mostly Sentries and Immortals.
Revival scouting with an Overseer, dropping a Changeling, coming dangerously close to finding out exactly what is going on, and now I'm pretty sure he should know. Seeing the Robo, seeing the pylon block off, a Zergling getting taken out at the Watchtower. Nothing but Lings and Roaches in production here, actually mixing in a drone. Very bold move here from
Hero's
Revival.
Gotta be careful. These Sentries are totally exposed in open ground where Revival engages.
Oh, the Lings coming in here, the Roaches as well, trying to nab down those Sentries, and already a win here for Revival, delaying this push even longer, and Immortal getting taken out. The War Prism is not here yet from Hero, so he can't micro these Immortals away, and what a brilliant engagement here from Revival.
Oh man, only one Sentry left, and that one has no energy. Hero, he pretty much has to turn around and change the build-up.
And, you know, this was like pretty committed. He cut probes. He has an upgrade on the way. He's still going to try to do it looks like, but yeah, he's making 3 Sentries, but Revival's just going to scoop in here with some Roaches.
And the Sentries, okay, he's backing away. He could have sacked the Roaches for the Sentries, deciding the Mortal Firepower was too much, and knowing there's not going to be that many Force Fields. Without Force Fields, the Protoss is not going to be cost efficient, and if you're not going to be cost efficient, how do you beat a Zerg who has 3 bases versus only 2 of yours?
Revival looking so good in this game so far, up 121 to 89 in supply, still making a bunch of Lings and Roaches in that production tabs. 4 Spine Crawlers on the way. He's at 67 Harvesters. He's taking a 4th base at the right-hand location. Hero has not resumed pro production. I don't see any additional tech from him. I'm wondering what Hero's next step is. He's kind of backing up. Do you like add a Robotics Bay and just go for another 2-base all in with Colossus or something?
I don't even know if he has the gas add a Robotics Bay. I think what he's going to do, he's going to back up, wait for Sentries to re-accumulate energy, and then he's just going to go again.
All right.
He may look to take a 3rd base, but given the fact that he's not building probes, it'd be very hard to utilize the extra minerals at the 3rd base. Overseer scouting the mains. What's important here is seeing, is there a robotic support bay being built?
Yes.
Is the Nexus building probes or not? And a very clever Zerg like Revival can notice there's no probes being built on Nexus. He knows another Sentry Immortal push is coming, and again he catches the Immortals in open.
Lings coming forward, the Immortals getting targeted down, Roaches on the high ground, Roaches on the low ground as well. Mothership Core coming back, a Guardian Shield being deployed by a Sentry. Here doing a decent job cleaning up these units, but here come the Hydras from Revival. Revival has to actually be pretty careful here.
He does. He's outnumbered here this far onto Hero's side of the map. Having to retreat time work in Force Fields. Hero being super cost efficient there.
Just lost an Immortal there though, so Revival going to be happy about that. But losing a lot of Hydras, Roaches, and Lings, Revival needs to be very careful. I mean, it's fine slowing this down, but you can't lose too much. Because once you start losing too much, the Protoss player can just accumulate that Death Ball, and anything you throw at him at that point, it's not going to be fun at all. It's going to be very hard to break. So Hero giving himself a chance here, equalizing that supply count a little bit as far as making it closer. Of course, still a little bit far away from equalizing it, but he's still coming forward, and this is still looking like a decently strong push.
This is looking like there's some hope for Hero in this game. He's pushing forward. The Spine Crawlers on the high ground are going to be very difficult to deal with.
Revival scrambling to get as many units down the field as possible. 7 Hydras in production, 6 Lings in production. We have +2 missile attacks, about 70% of the way done. I'm not sure if it's going to finish in time for this battle. Time Warp going down. A War Prism is still here as well. Hero can warp in more units, and he can pick up any weakened units as well. Revival desperately trying to hold on, trying to get that concave on the high ground, but Hero charging forward, trying to break this point. Can Hero make this work, even after how disastrously the beginning of this game went?
Look at that War Prism micro, keeping those two key Immortals alive for as long. Even again, picking up the Immortal. Drones take out the Immortal in the back, though. Great move by the worker force of Revival.
Mineral walking through the army and then going for the flank. How often are you going to see that? And that might be it for Revival. That might be what he needed. The Hydra is going to be reinforcing, cleaning up this Protoss army, and Hero's going to have to back up, making 2 more probes. He's not giving up. This is the final of WCS America. $20,000 are on the line. You are not going to see Hero type an early GG here.
Oh man, what a rough spot for Hero, though. He's going to try to fight it on, but Revival now has very good upgrades for his Hydras and Roaches with +2 attack done, starting to +1 armor. He has Hydra speed, and he just trapped several of these Stalkers.
Force field going down, trying to keep those Lings and Hydras back. That force field is all that remains between Hero and almost assured destruction. The Rock's getting targeted down
Hero's
here.
gonna be in the base. Knock,
He's like,
knock
let
on
me
the
back
door.
in. Oh gosh, this might be the end of game 1 very soon here. A robotics bay is not yet done, still a good amount away from a Colossus getting out. And how are you going to deal with the Hydras, especially considering the sentry count is getting low, the force field count is getting low, but Hero is not going to give up. He didn't come this far to give up, but he's down 147 to 64. And he's going to drop the GG. Revival taking a game 1, and that's kind of a game that started out with Hero's decision to go for that 2 base Immortal in. Something we don't see a lot of anymore. It feels like, you know, that was a big you know, obviously it was the build of Wings of Liberty, the later stages at the very least. Are you surprised by Hero's decision to go for that?
You know, Cloud Kingdom has always been a great map for that build, so I'm mildly surprised because it's not really Hero style. Even in Wings of Liberty, he didn't favor that build as much as some of the other world-class Protoss players. But it's a very powerful build, and you can combine adding in Time Warp with it to make it even stronger and harder to swarm. Unfortunately, when he pushed out, the goal is you push out with Sentries and Immortals. When you get close to the 3rd, you warp in all those additional buffer gateway units.
Right.
Revival caught him in the middle before he had those additional gateway buffer units, and he lost so many of those key sentries. It really took a lot of power out of that push.
I think creep spread had a lot to do with it too. Remember, he started with a hatchery at the 3rd. I think he dropped a creep tumor right away, started extending it in that direction, able to have that map vision, able to take Hero completely off guard in the middle of the map. And Revival taking game number 1 of this best of 7. Guys, you're watching WCS America. Hero has a little bit of work to do, but a lot of games to come. Hero versus Revival, you're watching the final. Game 2 coming up.